Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Ahmad Nawawi bin Wandi Aziz.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Ashraf bin Shaluddin.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Wan Muhammad Syami Akil bin Wan Muhammad Mustafa.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Ahmad Aminur Rahidin bin Abdul Rais.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Ahmad Dinish Aspa.
To start with, I would like to show my greatest respect to Madam Wajihah binti Azhar, our lecturer that leads us thoroughly and patiently in the process of completing this assignment. Besides, without her help and guidance, we will be having a challenge to complete this assignment and we will not be getting our best results in making this task. To add on, I would like to show my greatest respect to the authors, writers, and publishers of the article that me and my friend used as a reference to complete this assignment. Without them, we will be having a hard time finding a reliable reference and articles as our source of information for this task. In addition, I would also like to thank my fellow group members and friends for the useful conversation and ideas which improve my knowledge of the subject and also in completing this task.
For abstract, I will tell you details about plagiarism. What is plagiarism? So, plagiarism is a major problem for students. However, divergent views on how to define plagiarism and on what makes plagiarism reprehensible. For this assignment, we explicate the concept of plagiarism and discuss plagiarism normatively in relation to students. We assume that plagiarism should be understood as someone using someone else's intellectual products such as text, ideas, or results, thereby implying that it is their own, and argue that this is an adequate and fruitful definition. Moreover, we discuss the consequences of plagiarism and how to avoid plagiarism in this assignment. As a result of our normative analysis, we suggest that what makes plagiarism reprehensible as such is that it distorts scientific credit. In addition, intentional plagiarism involves dishonesty. There are furthermore several potentially negative consequences of plagiarism. Now, we move to introduction. To begin with, plagiarism is known as presenting someone else's expressions, creations, or concepts as if they were your own original work. It consists of two parts. Firstly, extracting words, word, or concepts from an existing source, and secondly, omitting proper credit to the source when employing those words, work, or concepts. Due to the initial element, many commentators often assert that plagiarism equates to theft, but this is not accurate. The act of absorbing information by reading or attending a lecture involves integrating words and concepts from another source into one's personal understanding, which by no means constitutes theft. The foundation of plagiarism lies in the subsequent element by presenting those words or concepts as your own authentic output, typically through the neglecting to cite the original source. This false representation is deceitful. It engenders a deceptive perceptions that another words or ideas came from your own intellectual endeavors.
3.2 The consequences of plagiarism. Plagiarism is an act of using someone else's work or ideas without giving proper acknowledgement, and it poses significant challenges in academic settings. For a student who wants to navigate their educational journeys, they need to understand the consequences of plagiarism because it is essential to foster a culture of integrity and originality of their work, so that we can produce a generation that is wise in education in the future. Plagiarism is deeper than just taking on someone else's work. This is because plagiarist claims that the work is their own work. It can make the author feel deeply damaging on their identity, hard work, and effort in making that work. It is because the work have been replaced or erased by the plagiarist, even though no one questions who truly created the work. As author who being plagiarized, it leaves a strong sense of violation on their work and making it difficult for them to continue their work. Thus, stealing ideas and creative work is unlike other forms of theft because it is tried at the presumption of self. Not only that, but it also can make knowledge weaker and not give respect and recognition to the writer who worked hard to create the work to be sure to be shown to the readers who are interested in reading it. By covering up where the source came from, it makes it difficult for the readers to know whether the information presented is true and accurate. It is said to be so because the person who plagiarized cannot give an actual answer when it be asked by the readers. For example, when the readers ask a question that is outside of what is presented, therefore they will make it difficult for the reader to delve into the information received. Apart from that, plagiarism infringes author's futures right. It is because when the plagiarist stole the original ideas from the author, the harm that can occur will go beyond than losing the credit onto their work. However, if the author keeps publishing it in the same field, at the end of the time, they may end up having to cite the person who copied them. Over time, the stolen work will become part of the official record, and researchers will seek to have reference for it. Since they can claim that they published it first, the true author will have difficulty making a report to the responsible party. They can only defend their rights if the work is already published.
How to avoid plagiarism? Plagiarism can sometimes happen without us even realizing it, especially when we are busy or rushing to finish an assignment. That is why it is important to understand how to avoid it. Giving credit to the original source shows honesty and respect for other people's works. Avoiding plagiarism also means managing your time well, taking responsibility for your learning and building good research habits. One helpful way to prevent plagiarism is by keeping track of the source you use while researching. Writing down where your information comes from as you go makes it much easier when it is time to add citation. This habit helps you stay organized and prevent confusion later. Using your own work when taking note is another simple but important step. When you paraphrase information in your own language, you are more likely to understand it and remember it. This also helps make your work sound more natural and personal instead of copy. It is also best not to cut and paste information directly from source into your work. Doing this can make it easy to forget which ideas are yours and which are not. Reading the information first and then rewriting it in your own work helps you avoid accidental plagiarism. Checking information by using several sources is a good research habit. Looking at more than one source helps you make sure the information is accurate and give you a better understanding of the topic. It also strengthens your work by showing your true research. Setting your source throughout your paper and including a reference list is very important. Citations tells the reader where your information came from and show that you are being honest about your research. A reference list also allows others to find the original sources if they want to learn more. Finally, when you use someone else's exact work, always put them in quotation marks and include a citation. This clearly shows that the words are not your own and give proper credit to the original author. Following this step help keep your work original, trustworthy, and respectful.
Plagiarism is when someone uses another person's idea, words, or work without giving proper credit, and is a big problem in universities today. This assignment look at why it happens and how it affects students. In the end, knowing plagiarism helps us become better and honest learners. Many causes lead to plagiarism, like heavy pressure from tight deadlines that make students panic and copy quickly. Lack of knowledge on how to cite sources properly is another reason, especially for new students. Easy internet access with tons of free essays also tempts people, and sometimes laziness or fear of failing pushes them to take shortcuts instead of doing original work. The consequences of plagiarism are serious and can ruin your academic results. You might get 0 marks for the assignment or even fail the whole course. Universities can suspend or expel you, which stays on your record and hurts job chance later. It also damages trust from teachers and can lead to legal issue if you steal copyrighted material. To avoid plagiarism, start by planning your work early so you have time to write originally. Always paraphrase in your own words and cite every source using styles like APA, with in-text, references, and a full list at the end. Use tools like Turnitin to check your paper before handling it in, and put direct quotes in quotation marks with credits. Practice good habits like note-taking from sources without copying word for word. Summary: by understanding the causes, facing the tough consequences, and following ways to avoid it, students can stay away from plagiarisms. This builds real skill and integrity that matter for success in studies and careers. Let's choose honesty every time for a better future.